What's happening, Internet fam? So, I have a lot of people asking me about Bitcoin all the time, every day, and I'm obviously very into it. Here's the thing: a lot of these people are, friends of mine, family, people I care about, even strangers. I mean, to some extent, I wish the best for strangers on the street, right? I don't want them to miss out on some kind of opportunity in their lives or have some kind of bad life. So I thought I'd take a minute and explain exactly what Bitcoin is and how it works. So many people come to me and say, man, I have no idea Bitcoin. I heard about it, but I just don't know anything about it. So let me tell you exactly what Bitcoin is in as few words as possible. Basically, Bitcoin is just a distributed ledger. That's all it is. So it is a spreadsheet that's shared by millions of people all over the planet. And on that spreadsheet, it records what wallet address owns how much Bitcoin. So to simplify, I've given these wallet addresses basic names like Tim, Sally, Fred, and Judy. And then the Bitcoin ledger records how many spots in that ledger Tim or Sally or Fred or Judy have. And the thing about Bitcoin is it's not just like, that you can just have just 1 or 2 or 3. You can have, 2.7 or 0.4 or 9.8, as some of these examples do. So, and as a result, you can own a tiny amount of Bitcoin. You could own 0.01 Bitcoin, and that's like, I don't know, $5 worth or something currently. So, and that's really my advice is just get $5 worth. Go to Coinbase or Circle or, or one of your friends who's hip to computers, etc., and say, hey, look, I want to get $5 worth of Bitcoin. Help me out here, and just do it. It's just really not that hard. And then once you've got $5 of Bitcoin, you can just watch it. You can watch the market and see what's going on. There's a couple of things that really separate Bitcoin from what we've been using as currency so far in the past. The main thing is there's no physical item with Bitcoin. It's just a distributed database of who owns how much of what. There's no, physical paper money. There's no gold. There's nothing like that. It's just you have that spot in that database, and that's it. And like I said, you could have, a bunch of spots in the database, or you could have just a fraction of one spot in the database, or anything in between. So that's really all it is. The thing that makes Bitcoin so unique and so special, though, is because there's overall only ever going to be 21 million spots in the database, ever. So unlike Federal Reserve notes, which they continually print in a process called quantitative easing, which is another word for stealing, if you ask me, there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. So if you own 21 Bitcoin, you own 1/1,000,000th of the supply of Bitcoin that will ever exist. So that's something to think about. Which is, not impossible at today's prices for a lot of people. So let's go look at a chart here. So, and as a result, because there's only ever going to be 21 million, unlike Federal Reserve notes, which continually plummet in price and value. I mean, since we went off the gold standard in what year did we go off the gold standard? Whenever that was. Since then, the value of money has plummeted. And now, whereas before a dollar would, get you a tank of gas, a meal, and, and maybe a new shirt or something, now a dollar won't get you a pack of gum. You know what I mean? So, and here's a chart of what's going on with Bitcoin. Quite a different chart. And you can basically see that it's been steadily growing over time. Now, where are we here? Are we in a similar version of this, but later? I don't know, maybe. The truth is, the market's in a very different place than it was back here. What happened here with this big rise here is basically there was a bot manipulating the market and making the price go up higher and higher while simultaneously buying at the lowest price possible. And there was also a theft on that exchange where that occurred, which is called the Mt. Gox incident. So, as Mt. Gox was the name of the exchange. So, you know, at that time, the price of Bitcoin went way up very quickly. And a lot of people got really excited and got into it and went and bought Bitcoin right then, because now the price is going up and now I gotta buy it. It's, you know, like any investment, it should be the other way around. When the price is low, that's when you should buy. And I know that Bitcoin right now is at an all-time high, but I still believe that it's fundamentally higher than, or lower than it will be in the immediate future. In fact, I have predicted a couple of times on my video blog that I think Bitcoin's going to hit 4,000 this month. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if it hit 5,000 this month or next month or sometime. I think that I would be very surprised if it wasn't over 5,000 going on into the end of the year and heading into next year. And in fact, I do expect it at some point next year to hit close to 10,000. You know, whether that's 8,000 or whatever, I think Bitcoin's definitely going up in price as its value continues to accrue, because more and more people are using it, and there's only ever going to be 21 million of them. So it's always going to have an inherent value higher than any kind of fiat currency. I mean, right now we're right here, but you know, depending on how you want to look at the chart, whether you want to look at it as you know, one of these kind of like steady growth charts, which I think would be the best for everybody if we could follow that kind of line. I don't see that happening though. I see Bitcoin as going probably exponential at some point. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was 4,000 or 5,000 next month, and then you know, by the end of next year, 10,000, somewhere over here. You know, one more year from now. So like here, you know, I think that we're going to start seeing more of like a 45-degree angle on this chart moving forward, and that's not even exponential growth, which we could reach exponential growth. Now, there's a couple of things about Bitcoin that I think do limit my enthusiasm to some extent. It was the very first cryptocurrency. So to me, it seems like at some point it will probably not be the de facto cryptocurrency that people are actually using. I think it'll be one of its successors. Obviously, some people think that's Ethereum, which is why the price of Ethereum is so high. But I mean, there's 800 different altcoins on the market right now, 830. And so the chances of Bitcoin being the one that becomes kind of like the default global reserve currency, that just doesn't seem altogether that likely to me. But, I mean, I don't think it's going to suddenly lose its value. It does go up and down, but I think at the moment, from everything I've seen, and I've been in Bitcoin now for a few years, I do think that it's going to drive higher and continue to drive higher. And I doubt we'll ever see it back to the lows that we saw last month. For a minute, it dipped down to 1,800 last month. And I said at the time, in my vlog, I said, man, if there was ever a time to get into Bitcoin, now's the time. I don't think it's going to go that low again in the foreseeable future. And currently it's on 3,400. I mean, it's flirting with 3,500 right now. Which, again, didn't really come as a surprise to me. I wish I would have had more money I could have thrown at it back when it was 1,800 bucks, but I've diversified. I've bought some other alt currencies, and I've done pretty well on those as well. So no use beating myself up over, you know, modest gains, which is really all I'm trying to do here. I'm fairly conservative in my investments. I don't put everything on one horse and expect to make a ton of money just on that one thing. But I am holding some Bitcoin, and as Bitcoin continues to go up, the value of my portfolio continues to go up. So, and that's why I think everybody should own some, just a little bit. I mean, at least a little bit. I think, honestly, everybody I care about and love on this planet should have a Bitcoin, an entire Bitcoin, which right now is $3,500. Now, I know a lot of people say, I don't have $3,500, but it's, you know, I'm talking about $3,500. It's probably going to be worth 10 grand next year. You know, it's probably going to be worth 5 grand by the end of this month, you know, or next month, you know, somewhere in there. I mean, now again, this is speculation. These are just my best guesses based on what I've seen. And, you know, I could be wrong. I've certainly been wrong before. So, I was very wrong when I didn't buy Bitcoin the first time I had an opportunity to do so in mid-2011. And I will beat myself up over that for my whole life. I'll be a multi-millionaire someday, and I'll think, man, but I could have been a multi-millionaire so much earlier. And that's just the facts surrounding Bitcoin. There are a lot of people saying, oh, it's too late, the price has already gone way up, I already missed the boat. No, you did not miss the boat at all. We are still in very early days. Very few stores in my town are taking Bitcoin right now. I would be very surprised if in 5 years a lot of the stores in this town aren't taking Bitcoin. And at that point, I mean, the value of Bitcoin is going to be a lot higher than it is now. Every time a small country, or even a large country, any country has some kind of monetary issue, hyperinflation, whatever, they do something crazy with their monetary policy. India tried to remove all $100 bills or something. I don't know the whole story behind it, but Venezuela's experienced hyperinflation numerous times. Argentina's experienced hyperinflation many times. Anytime that happens in a country, the people there immediately look to secure the value of their wealth in something other than the local currency, right? Because if there's hyperinflation and suddenly, your $100 that you saved from working your pathetic dead-end job is suddenly worth $10, you know what I mean? This is a bad day for you. So in all of those countries, they try to get out of their fiat currency of that country and get into something else of value. And one of the quickest, easiest things to get is Bitcoin. I mean, if you have an internet connection and a cell phone, you can get Bitcoin. So, and I believe that's one of the things that's been a driver of the value of Bitcoin over the last few years. These incidents have occurred and the price of Bitcoin goes up like almost the next day. Some countries now are recognizing Bitcoin as an official currency. The country of Japan, for one, is recognizes Bitcoin as an official currency. China specifically said they weren't going to outlaw it or something like that, which is pretty fascinating when you consider some of the capital controls that the Chinese government puts in place on their economy. So all these different events that have occurred have led to rises in the Bitcoin price, and I see no reason for those events not to keep occurring. And in fact, I think one of these days a big country is going to have a monetary collapse of some kind. My money at this point is either on China or the U.S. I think either China or the U.S. are going to have a major economic meltdown similar to the one in 2008, but possibly much bigger and much worse. And that's going to have a huge catastrophic effect on the entire global economy. And at that point, you want to be holding some Bitcoin. In fact, you want to be holding some Bitcoin right now, anyway. And in fact, you kind of want to be holding some Bitcoin 4 years ago, or 6 years ago. If you're not, just do the best that you can do for yourself now by getting some now. 20 bucks. Get 20 bucks worth. Because that 20 bucks could be worth 20,000 in a few years. It's not unlikely. It's even probable on some level. I mean, you zoom out far enough on a timeline and look at the way international governments have been operating their monetary policy. It's nuts. There's a reason these countries experience hyperinflation and stock market crashes and all this kind of thing. It's because they're totally mismanaged by corrupt, puppets who are pulling, the levers of finance in completely haphazard ways. I mean, that's what we've had in this country since at least 1912, in the institution of the Federal Reserve. And honestly, there was quite a bit of market manipulation before that as well. So, yeah. This is a way to get into an asset that is not tied to the insane policy decisions of people who probably do not have your best interest in mind, and also clearly have no basic grasp of the basic tenets of economics. If you look at what Alan Greenspan did as chairman of the Federal Reserve, or what Janet Yellen has chosen to do as chairwoman of the Federal Reserve, or any of their predecessors, or, I mean, it's nuts. Just the worst possible decisions in a lot of cases. And I know to some extent they're trying to manage a ship that's already going down, but it costs you money. Your money is worth less as a result of their decisions. And if you got into some kind of money that wasn't tied to that insane policy and decision making, you might be able to hold on to more wealth, accrue more wealth, and just have more value in your earnings over time. So that's why I'm recommending everybody get into Bitcoin, at least a little bit. If not Bitcoin, then Litecoin or Ethereum or one of these cryptocurrencies. Something that's got a limited value, or a limited quantity. Some of these cryptocurrencies don't have, seemingly don't have a limited quantity. There's one called Strong Hands, where I think there's like 1 billion Strong Hand coins or whatever. So, yeah, don't get into Strong Hand. I mean, you can if you want, but don't ever expect a Strong Hand to be worth a lot, because there's going to be billions of them. Unlike Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, so these other ones where there's there's a little more limited supply, meaning the value is going to stay there and continue to grow, as we saw in the chart, right? I mean, again, this was market manipulation right here, this area here. So let's not pay too much attention to that. There were some scams and a bot and a shady exchange owner and a lot of FOMO there. Whereas this run up, I think, is a little bit more logical. This kind of seems like the path that it was supposed to be on anyway. I mean, if you look here, it hit up here and then it dipped back down. But if you look, I mean, there's kind of like an even little curve going on here. It sort of makes some kind of mathematical or geometric sense. And if you consider that Bitcoin's likely to be exponential in growth, which I think a lot of experts think it will, you can see that curve is going to continue to go up like this. And in fact, over time, may just continue to go up like that. So, in a nutshell, that's what I think about Bitcoin, and that's why I think everybody should be holding a little bit. Go get 20 bucks worth. It's not hard to get 20 bucks worth. Everybody watching this has an internet connection, has a computer, has $20. So don't make any more excuses. Get your $20. Go on Coinbase or some other site, whatever. There's a bunch of them out there. Put your 20 bucks in and get some Bitcoin. And I would encourage you to store that Bitcoin on your own personal wallet on your own computer. Now, if you do that, you need to be very good about backups, because you can lose all your money if you don't back up that data. So if you want to just leave it on Coinbase and let them manage it, like Gmail manages your email, or Google Drive manages your documents, or any one of those cloud service providers. There are cloud service providers for Bitcoin. That's what Coinbase is, and that's why it's one of the easiest ones that I do recommend for beginners. So yeah, that's Bitcoin in a nutshell. If you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to ask. You can buy $5 worth of Bitcoin. You can buy 5 million bucks worth of Bitcoin. It's infinite, almost infinitely divisible. So one Satoshi at some point, it will probably not be worth much more than 1 cent. And at that point, a Bitcoin's going to be worth $1 billion or something. So, and I think that's where we're headed long term. Now whether it's going to be Bitcoin or one of its successors or competing cryptocurrencies, I don't know. But at any rate, I recommend everybody get into it at some level. Even if you just put $5 on an exchange, really just, even if that's all you do, go get $5 worth of something, put it on exchange. Because next thing you know, you might start being more aware of it, playing around with it, watching your other assets decline in value over time as the Federal Reserve continues to print money, and you might get more into it and buy more. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I got. If you have any questions, if you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm here. I'm maybe not the world's foremost expert on any of this stuff, but I'm definitely an enthusiast, and I've been following it for a few years now, and I feel like I've got a line on a little bit of what's going on more than the average finance nerd does. So yeah, any questions you got, please don't hesitate to ask. All right, have a great day, Internet fans.